Hello, Mike. Thank you for joining our lockdown stories today.
Pleasure. Thank you, Hal. Thank you for inviting me. It's really kind of you.
You're very welcome. I wonder if you could just start by sharing with the people watching who you are and how you're involved in St Mark's.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Mike Proctor. I don't know how long I've been coming to St Mark's for. A little while now. And what do? I do a little bit with Alpha. I do a little bit with men's ministry, so organise some social events for the chaps, beer and bite and treasure hunts and a retreat now and again. So yeah, that's me.
Great. You're a good organiser. Definitely. Well, we'll kick straight off, Mike. So question one, how did you come to know Jesus and have faith in him?
Okay. Well, I suppose the foundations were probably laid in childhood. Yeah, Mum used to go to church, Dad occasionally. I went to Sunday school, hated it. It was, itchy clothes. It was dark. It was musty. But you got the Bible stories. And then I had a long period of not going to church all through my teens, all through my 20s. And the little sort of tiny flame of belief that I suppose was there was fanned by Julie, my wife, when we got married in '88. But I suppose it was when I did an Alpha course in 2001 that I sort of really made a commitment. And then, to be honest, I was a bit disappointed when sort of nothing much seemed to happen. So, yeah, didn't do the Alpha course because of Julie. And I suppose nor was I looking for God, really. I suppose if I was looking for him, I knew where to go and find him. It was in church, and I didn't at that time feel sort of much of a need to go and find him. I did the Alpha course actually because there's something. Well, have you got time for a quick story?
Yeah, we have. Go for it.
Okay, right. So I'm an optician and had a work colleague called Richard Powell, and he and his wife called Jeanette had a son called Reuben. And when Reuben was 6, they used to live on Mayfield Grove behind Asda. And when he was 6, he was playing in a graveyard because there's not a lot of areas to play around Mayfield Grove. And when he was playing in a graveyard, and a gravestone fell on him and it killed him, which was horrendous. Now, I knew Richard was a Christian because prior to his son dying, I'd seen him sort of reading faith books and things during his lunchtime, and I used to think they were very boring books to read over lunchtime, but hey. And really about 6 months after Reuben's death, Richard was there again reading these books at lunchtime, and I said, Richard, I think I know a little bit about God, but if I had any faith in God at all and my son had been killed by a gravestone falling on him, I'm sorry, but that would have just trashed any belief I had in God. And Richard said, Mike, it's the other way around for Jeanette and I. During all of this, we've clung to God. And really, it's a hard thing to explain to you, but if you want to get any sort of an understanding of it, try Alpha. And it was about, I don't know, a few months after that, and I just happened to be walking past the church off Colbath Road, and I saw an Alpha course advertised, and I thought, well, actually, to honour Richard, I'll go and do Alpha. So that's how I ended up doing Alpha.
Wow, okay. Gosh, that's such a story of transformation, I guess, and almost like a trickle, like you said, over many years of God just niggling his way in. And
yeah, yeah. So during Alpha, there's a point during Alpha when you invite the Holy Spirit to come to fill you, and I was expecting something sort of a bit, sudden and kapowish, and it wasn't. It's been a very slow trickle, but actually looking back over the years since 2001 when I did the Alpha course, yeah, there's been certainly a steady growth.
That's amazing. And I heard recently actually someone that that's on the Alpha course that you're leading about her time encountering the Holy Spirit and how wonderful that was for her for the first time. So you're now leading people from where you've come, which is wonderful.
Yeah, we've all got our part to play, haven't we?
Indeed. Brilliant, thank you. So question 2, how are you finding God's joy during this lockdown season?
Okay. Well, firstly, I'd say I feel a bit guilty about being joyful. I think someone said to me the other day about do I feel what was making me feel joyful, and I thought, crumbs, that's an interesting one. So Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when there's so much sort of sadness and hardship around, to use that word joy. So I suppose really I'm going to swap that for appreciative. So what am I feeling more appreciative because of the lockdown? So yeah, so I suppose a spacious home and a garden. It's got to start there. You feel ever so sorry for people that are confined to really small living spaces and often shared with, you know, family members and whatnot, that's causing stress in their lives. So I suppose home and garden, really appreciative of. Springtime, so shades of green, blue skies, bird song. Yeah, bike rides on quiet roads. It's lovely, isn't it? And long walks with the dog. Probably longer walks with the dog than I would be getting generally. Good friends and good neighbours. I think it's been a really, really lovely thing to see that although we're not meeting each other in the way that we were, we're still making an effort to meet each other on Zoom or phone calls or you know, Skype or FaceTime or whatever else. But yeah, spending probably more time in some ways with some friends than I was doing before. What else? More time to read, more time to pray. And I suppose I do feel joy in one respect. I feel joyful for the way society appears to be changing for the better over all of this. I know there are huge, there seems to be a society of two halves here where some are finding it very, very difficult. But another half of the other part of society are there just seems to be a myriad examples of sort of little acts of kindness and neighbours reaching out to each other. So I really think society has changed for the better in many, many ways through all of this. So yeah, seeing God at work in so many ways in society, which I think is shifting for the better. So that's a joyful experience.
Yeah, no, thank you for that long list. Yeah, I guess when I asked that question, it is rephrased as how are we seeing God at work. So thank you for that. And finally then, how or what will be one of the first things that you do when lockdown...
Was that me?
That was me. Tried to carry on with professionalism. Not working. What will be, Mike, one of the first things that you do when this lockdown season begins to be lifted and things potentially begin to get back to maybe slightly how they were? What would you do?
Well, yeah, I suppose, so Julie, my wife, is shielding because she's very immunocompromised. And so I suppose lockdown for her, we anticipate, can only really come with vaccination. So our daughter Nikki, who lives in the Netherlands, is expecting her second baby in August. So I suppose when Julie comes out of lockdown, so that will be the end of our lockdown, I suppose. When Julie comes out of lockdown, the first thing I'll do is to take her to go and see our second grandchild in the Netherlands. So that's the first thing we'll do. That's
a really special thing to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us on Thursday. It's great to have you, and I'm sure everyone will really appreciate all that you said. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Natalie. Thanks for the invitation.
Take care, Mike. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
God bless. Bye.